Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the 22 Panels Milestone Book Club. I am joined again by the brothers Anderson, no relation, and we're here to discuss new Milestone Blood Syndicate Season 1.
I was mistaken and thought for some reason we were also doing Duo, so I read them both, and I kind of blazed through Blood Syndicate this afternoon.
Well,
Oh,
But that
we'll,
means it's
we'll
all
hopefully
it's
have it.
I mean,
clear
we
in my
could have,
head.
yeah. I mean, it might spoil Duo if we talked about it for Tad if we talked about it, but I've read it, so
I mean, if it
I'd
comes
I'd
up,
be
it
interested in
comes
your
up.
thoughts, or we can wait. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, we'll get to
We'll
Duo, I think.
try not to
We'll wait.
discuss it, but if it comes out, it comes out.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Whatever.
Okay, yeah. Uh,
I'm easy to
let's
please.
wait though, so I can get fresh and read it again. But yeah, I'd like to talk about Blood Syndicate.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially I found myself liking Blood Syndicate more than I expected to over the original. I found myself liking original Blood Syndicate more than I was expecting to out of all the original Milestone things. Um,
Mm.
I was kind of expecting to have Static as Static kind of is still my favorite, but Blood Syndicate, Blood Syndicate was a really strong contender because it had a really interesting mix of personalities, and I thought that again, it did that thing where it is so much about the city that worked really well, and I enjoyed basically every part of it. I was a big fan of the original Blood Syndicate once I'd gotten into it, and I was looking
Yeah.
forward to this one to see whether it still is sort of. I wouldn't say it was the flagship book of the original Milestone, but I feel like it had the most. I don't know.
No, I have a thought on that. Like, I think
Yeah,
that the first Blood Syndicate like was just rich. It was rich in because team books can be tricky, and I'm probably repeating something I said in the episode or we said in the episode, but team books can be tricky. But I really felt like Ivan Velez found a real balance of jumping back and forth between all these characters, their personalities, their interactions. You know what I mean? And so you got a lot. You had action, but you also they were always building on these aspects of characters, which I do think that 90s Milestone just did a pretty good job of that across the board. So I definitely think that was the case. This one, I guess to kind of just jump in, um, one of us, again, I can't remember who said it, but like brought up the point last time that excuse me, one of the big differences between like 90s Milestone and this new iteration is that um we are in an era, we're post everything being written for a trade arc, you know what I mean? Like we're in an era where writers and artists are approaching things in very specific arcs. And I definitely think that's evident here. I enjoyed this a lot. I guess just I'm gonna try to be super brief for the recap, and then maybe we could fill in the blanks
sure.
afterwards. I'm gonna give
Sounds
myself
good.
the challenge of doing a concise recap, but feel free to jump in and say anything that I forgot. So I would say like first before I do my recap, one of the biggest differences is um the team or the gang is essentially formed when we jump in the old series. In this series, we're really everything isn't together yet, and
Yeah.
we're watching it all come together throughout the arc, and they really kind of unite at the end of the sixth issue, which is the final issue of the arc.
Yeah,
So like we jump
this
in,
miniseries,
yeah,
sorry, just real quick, this miniseries could have been like the prequel to the original Blood Syndicate. Because like the
yeah,
original,
which is pretty cool.
it is pretty cool. I went back and reread those first two issues of Blood Syndicate, or the original series, and it was yeah, it starts with Rob Chaplik coming into Paris Island and getting
Right.
the story of all this stuff when they were already a formed team and they already had their dynamics going. And I like that a lot. I liked the immediacy of it of getting in and seeing here's what this team is, here's what it's doing, sort of in political social terms. Here's what the character dynamics are in a way that I really I don't know. I found that really compelling. And this was a slower start, which wasn't necessarily a
Mhm.
bad thing, but it shook me a little bit. I'm like, oh, this is okay. This is a different thing. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. You were gonna.
Yeah. No, it's okay. All right, I'm gonna give myself a challenge to really to not go beat by beat and just get
Do it.
the broad strokes, and then we can all fill in the painting later. But so we jump in initially with Rolando and Hannibal. I know in the original series we knew that Wise Son's name was Hannibal, but I don't know if we knew Tech Nine's. I think it did come up. I do think Tech Nine's name came up.
I think
Anyway,
so.
Rolando and Hannibal are Tech Nine and Wise Son respectively, and we find out that they are overseas. Fight. Are they were in Afghanistan, right?
It's
Am
I think
it's
so.
one of
the
those
United
fake.
States has so many wars going that I have to. It's hard to remember
Yeah.
which one.
No,
Oh,
it's one of those fake foreign Middle Eastern nations. I think it's
oh, was that what it was? Okay.
Shadaka. Was that what the there was? It was
Okay,
like there was
okay,
a
maybe
fake
that
Middle
was the
East.
case.
Yeah, it was a.
I know main DC loves that, loves to
Oh, it had.
do like fake countries.
I think, but I think main DC had Kwarak. Was
Yeah, there's a
there?
few. Yeah,
Yeah. Let's see here. I'm trying.
Corto Maltese is
Ooh.
like the Latin American one.
Yeah, Sadaka, the city of Almad in
That's right.
Sadaka
Okay,
on the Persian Gulf. So yeah,
okay,
but it's like it's clearly
got
it's a
it.
city. It's got
It's a
minarets
fictional
and
city.
yeah, and it's all through it or through a
Okay.
yellow filter like it does in all the war movies.
Right, right. Which was really interesting. And I should say briefly that like Chris Cross, who did a bulk
Hmm.
of he's probably the artist that did the most of the original run, is back. And it's pretty cool to see his style, see him actually having the unique opportunity. Well, other than Dennis
Hmm.
Cowan, he also got to reinvent his character. But you get to see him reinvent his characters. Anyway, like so they're fighting over there. What's really interesting to me is while the Big Bang was happening in Dakota, and giving all these people their powers, Hannibal and Rowley, they get their powers independently overseas, and we get a bit of that backstory, but you can tell that they're gonna fill that in later. um
Yeah, I was
so
a little annoyed that they kept kind of being like, "Oh, my powers well," and then they immediately got interrupted by like something exploding or something else going on. I was like, "Come on, just like give us two lines." It's like, "Oh, there was a military experiment that went bad." I don't know, but yeah,
it's interesting. Yeah, yeah,
it is
yeah.
interesting
I
that
mean,
they
for me,
chose not to give those two guys their tie-in, but also making it clear that yeah, there's a world beyond Dakota, which
well,
yeah,
Well,
what's
and of
interesting,
course
yeah,
they would test a weapon in a war.
certainly
mhm,
not on black and brown
yeah,
soldiers. Yeah, of course not.
absolutely, yeah, yeah. And
Anyway,
well, and actually, one thing which we'll get to later, but I there's an interesting implication. Not Yeah, yeah, and they're implying where some of the powers may have come from, right? Because we do know there was an inciting incident of the people who were at the BLM march that was tear gassed, but it has come up throughout this run of Milestone that there were definitely people who weren't necessarily at the march who seem to be coming up with powers too. So
yeah,
I have a theory on that based on a couple lines of dialogue here. But anyway, let me run through this. So basically, Rolando and Hannibal, they get back to the Paris Island, not just Dakota, but Paris Island. And they connect instantly with on their return with Carlos, aka Fade. I thought it was cool that like basically in this iteration, like Fade is out, because
yeah,
it's 2023, you know what I mean? And while there's definitely, times and places and situations where like a lot of people unfortunately still feel like they have to be in the closet, like I feel like the Fade of 2023 would just be like, whatever, I'm here, you
yeah.
know. And that allows them to do some interesting things to play with dynamics, like where, Wise Son just has this
Open
general
homophobia.
apprehension, yeah, and homophobia, yeah, going on. Whereas in the other one, it was just like, oh, I hope the secret doesn't come out. I got to keep the secret, under lock and key.
Yeah,
Um, so then like basically stuff hits the fan immediately because they connect with Carlos. Wise Son is like, whatever, I'm gonna go do my thing. He goes back, and you get a little family texture with him, and you find out that he had like a really domineering, religious dad who he says pretty much like, I felt essentially, not in so many words, we said like, I feel like the streets were safer than, or whatever, like being on the streets was better than like being here under thumb or whatever. You know what I mean? And like, so he tries to go home and make peace with his family, but it doesn't go very well. So he finds himself back on the streets, and he ends up, meeting up with some former associates who are trying to pull him back into things. Um, and there's this big meetup at this warehouse, and shenanigans ensue because the absolute worst person in the Milestone universe, Holocaust, shows up. And I do like that that Tech 9 later in the uh this arc directly is like, that's the name you went with?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Really?
he
Holocaust?
directly
Yeah.
speaks to it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Jesus.
But like this arc, I'm not gonna do all the blows by blows, but Holocaust immediately is just on some, power grab stuff. And it really reasserts why he is just the worst, character, period. Interesting things. He's setting a lot of things into action, and he basically, there's a meeting of all the other gangs, and they're trying to kind of unite for power. Holocaust comes in and just burns everybody to the ground. Wise Son is the only one who survives. The police think that because he's a lone survivor, he must have had something to do with it. He is taken in by the police. Basically, in the meantime, Fade reveals his power as Carlos because he helps Tech 9 escape, by phasing through the ground. And Sarah uses her, Sarah, aka Flashback, uses her powers. And I thought that was a really interesting remix, is that whereas in the past series, for the most part, the way her powers worked is she could go 3 seconds back in time. You find out that I think she's really struggling to kind of, her time powers are a little broader, you know what I mean? And much broader, really. Because it seemed like she could go into the future, and quite a bit into the future.
Yeah.
And
There was that cool
she's trying
vision
to
of a
figure out how to
potential.
control. Yeah. She's trying to figure out how to control it. And that was cool because we got our first glimpse of Kwai, in that flash forward. So, a lot of action is happening at the same time that we're getting, like, some character stuff. I do like that they give time for Jeffrey Thorne wrote this arc, and I do like the fact that he gave time for excuse me, kind of jumping back into little beats of the character's past as you go along. Like, you get some backstory on the Holocaust, and his upbringing. And I thought that was pretty interesting because the stuff that happened, it's like you could see a person going, more than one direction from it. It could have been a thing that forced a kid in his position to become more empathetic, but it was quite the opposite. You know what I mean? And
there was more.
and
There was more backstory.
I have more to say about that later.
Yeah, there was more backstory for a lot of these characters, which I liked. I do think that made it, I don't know about overstuffed, but it was difficult to juggle that with all the current day stuff. But I like the sense of, I mean, I really, there's a lot of elements that I like with this. The backstories are one, because I like the element of Hannibal and now I'm forgetting what the actual name of Tech 9 is. Rolando. Now, I like the element of them coming back and realizing we're in a different kind of war and kind of having to deal with something else. Yeah. I found myself really liking Holocaust as a villain more in this one, because whereas in the original books, he seemed like just an arrogant jackass at first, and then they had to kind of build up to him being, earning the name Holocaust. Here, he is just like a complete villain from moment one, and I love that. I like that a lot. And even with a little bit of backstory, he still is like, he's a great villain for a comic book series, because he's powerful, he has ambition, he knows what he wants, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to get it. And like, he's great. Right. He's named himself Holocaust. He's the perfect villain.
And actually, to your point, like, I think, because I kind of like, started to talk about this, but like, as far as his backstory, what we get is essentially, his dad. The first thing we see is you find out that he and his dad had a dog that had been, I think, had been fighting, right? And it was the way that they earned, and it was the way they earned money as a family, and you find out that the dog lost, and young Holocaust is like, I'm gonna say Holly because I hate saying that word over and over again, but young
Yeah.
Holly is basically like, but dad, we still won money, like you got second place, and we got paid. And his dad is basically is like no frills. He's like, no, he lost, and we gotta, you really see the roots of of Holly's like all or nothing, like there's no weakness
Yeah.
mindset in that. and
Yeah.
and his dad basically pulls out a gun, and Holly's like, dad, you're gonna shoot him, and he's like, no, you're going to, you know what I mean? He
Yeah,
hands it to him, and
that was
yeah,
such a great, I mean, awful, but great moment where he's like, "No, it's your dog," and he hands him a gun, and it's
yeah,
just, God, that's really, it's
yeah,
awful, but it like again,
yeah,
it gives you this portrait of this person who, from a kid, has been exposed to this unimaginable brutality and has responded by being even more
right,
brutal, and like, oh, that's a really good character. I liked. I shouldn't say I liked Holocaust because it's
yeah.
not as though I like him
No, I
as a
get what you're
person.
saying. You like
Yeah,
him as a villain.
he's
Yeah.
such a
Well, and
good
that's how I
villain.
feel. I like him
Yeah,
as a villain, and he is truly like,
he's
because I think a good
monstrous.
villain, you like, yeah, you really genuinely hate him. Like, the
Yes.
Joker, I can't stand the Joker, but I also think he could be really compelling
Oh
because
yeah.
of the same reasons that I can't stand him.
Yeah,
And like Holly is, yeah,
he's blowing up meetings of gang leaders who are trying to make peace. He's blowing up police stations. He's just killing people by the dozens. Yeah, no, he's I like him a lot. I think he functions. I mean, again, you were talking about sort of this is writing for the trade, and I was again we're comparing this to original flavor, Blood Syndicate, where that first arc is really about um is about Rob Chapek like looking at and trying to get
hmm,
the measure of, what does the Blood Syndicate want? Where do they come from? And she witnesses them bust up a crack house. She witnesses the conflict between Tech Nine and Holly, and and Tech Nine wins. Holly is out in the cold, but then just as they're starting to celebrate, Tech Nine dies suddenly, and so there's this sense of
yeah,
they're sort of protectors of this place, but their position is uncertain, and of course, it's still a life where any one of them can die at any moment, even more so than usual. So, like, it's setting up for a much longer term story, whereas this is a very it's not self-contained, but it's like this is the contained first arc of this is the Blood Syndicate and how it came to be. And it's a different thing. I think it works really well. I like it a lot. I mean, yeah. The which character is it who's like watching his dad getting beaten by some racist cops and like,
no,
yeah.
no, that is also Holly, and that's what I wanted
Oh,
to
that's all. Oh,
come
that's oh
to
yeah,
next.
shit.
Yeah, he's a few years older, and it's not his father. It's like a community. It's like a
Yes.
dude in the community who essentially is like, like fighting the good fight and doing the right things, and he's looking out for the teens. And you see the cops are on some usual, all too familiar, stop and frisk. They call it like something and detain. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
that's yeah.
they're yeah, and like, so this community minded guy, like, he comes in to defend the kids, and he's like stating their rights and how their rights are being violated, and he's standing up for them. And the cops do what far too many police do, and they beat the living, ish out of him.
Yeah.
And
Ugh.
while they're doing it, this one cop is, quote unquote, telling him about himself, and like, really, he's talking about like the strength, and these kids need to see this. And and the cop is giving this totally BS monologue about, like, power and strength, and how they have the power. And you see the truly chilling moment in this flashback, right, is you see young Holly like watching this brutality being visited upon this man that, I think we understand is somebody that he respects, or has some affinity to. And it's like he's taking the wrong message. He's taking
Yeah.
the cops' message, about like strength is the only thing, and you have to have it, no matter whose expense it's at. You know what I mean? And then it's really interesting later, because as as Holly's so interesting, because at one point, like, he tries to like tell, I can't remember if it's wife's son or or Tech Nine, but he tries to tell them like, we don't do all that speechifying here, like, in Paris, Paris Island, and then he totally is giving his own monologue. You
He
know what
goes
I
into his
mean?
own speech.
And
Yeah.
yeah, but as he's giving his monologue, he's talking about, like, how his family's from Haiti, and he talks about um I don't know if he names Toussaint Louverture by name, but he references him. He references, Toussaint, and how Haiti is the one enslaved nation that where the enslaved, like, overthrew their oppressors, you know what I mean, successfully. And then he talks about the real history of how basically the world governments united, and especially France, but the world governments united to be like, okay, you got your freedom. Now we're really going to, like, oppress you financially.
Mhm.
Excuse me. And
Fun fact, by the way,
and
Haiti
so he
still owes millions upon millions of
yes,
dollars to France. Current,
yeah,
present day
yes,
Haiti,
exactly.
200 years later. After, yeah,
Exactly. But that's really cool too, because it's kind of like you see that it adds a little layer of complexity, because on one hand, like, Holly is a contradictory character, right? Because
yeah.
he's hurting, like, black and brown people all over the place in his pursuits of power, but then he's still Holly is a case study in, like, almost having it right, you know what I mean? And but, like, taking the wrong lesson away,
Yeah,
and so, could you see where it's like he's almost there and talking about, like, you know
the way
coming
that the
from a stock of people, yeah, that rose up, against their oppressors successfully, and he sees himself as a part of that lineage, yet he's doing it at the expense of many of his people, and he's taking this white police brutality scumbag cops lesson, you know what I mean, as his as so I thought this reimagining of him, like, I think it added, like, a lot of texture, I think, which is a point you brought up, Ted, but it added a lot of texture to, him as a character, and just his inherent contradictions, and but in a way that, like, felt lifelike and believable, I mean, horrifying, but and I'm definitely, not making any Holly t-shirts,
yeah,
to wear, but
but he's a more interesting and layered character, and it serves him. It serves the story well to have a villain with some interesting elements like that. Yeah, no, it's
yeah,
it was
and
this.
yeah,
Well, I was just going to
no, you
keep
go ahead,
going.
sorry.
I was just going to keep going ahead of the
Yeah,
recap. I mean, or
yeah,
if
yeah,
you
yeah.
want to, well,
We can just talk. I feel like we
yeah,
could got everybody read the story.
yeah,
Everybody read it, but I think let's just talk about the stuff we liked. I think, you know what I mean,
yeah,
That's the way I always look
or
at it.
didn't like. Yeah, yeah.
But I will say that not only do I like just the wanton brutality of Holocaust in this version, but I like the fact that he was always a separate thing. It always felt a
Yeah,
little
that's
weird that
true.
he was even trying to be part of something
Hmm.
rather than the top dog in the other one.
yeah. That's
Yeah,
true.
It
He was
always
there.
felt like either he shouldn't have gone so extreme or he shouldn't have been at that meeting to begin with.
Yeah, that's
You
good. That's a
know,
good
yeah.
point. He does kind of stick
I
out. Yeah,
yeah. No, yeah. Go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you, but I have thoughts on that too. But go ahead.
just
no,
that,
that
like looking at that team shot on the first page of the first Blood Syndicate. Blood
Yeah,
Syndicate.
he
It's
kind
just
of
like
did seem weird.
he stands out a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, oh gee, I wonder which one's going to become the villain. It's maybe the guy named Holocaust.
right.
It's
Right,
a little
right.
much. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, to your point, Tad, I agree, and I like that, he's got those ambitions. It's interesting because I think they do mirror some of that. Because remember in the first in the 1993 Blood Syndicate, what happens is essentially it's like, yeah, he's there, and there's this beyond tenuous thing connection going on, right? Like he's pretty much breaking up with them immediately as we jump into
Right.
the story. And as you go back, you see where he essentially comes to loop Wise Son in, like, by force, and then, like, he goes to the meeting and it's already falling apart, like, from the first meeting, you know what I
Right.
mean? And so you kind of see where it's like if you think about like gangs and what they are, essentially, they are a family structure, usually for people where there's some absence of stability and structure. You know what I mean? It's like an attempt to build that, sadly by force. Oftentimes. So if you think about Holocaust, it's like I think that's the push and the pull in the initial version is that, he's from like, a culture of surviving through reliance on one's gang, but he's got these ambitions that, transcend any sense of loyalty, and you see that in that one flashback in this modern telling where like, one of his comrades, on his ascent, as there's a little flashback because the flashbacks keep coming closer and closer to the
Yeah.
present day. And I think this might be the last flashback that we see. And it's like you see where it's like one of his comrades, he basically burns him and like, the dude is like, you can't, first the dude tries to appeal to the fact that they came up together and he's just basically like, yeah, but all that like familiarity, that's, that doesn't, the strength is what matters. Like, you know what I mean? It's not about time and all that. This is business is business. You taught me that, and then the
Yeah.
dude's like, all right, well, I can't appeal to, to that. I'm gonna, appeal to like on a business level. He's like, I'm the connect, you know what I mean? Like all the drugs go through me. So then Holocaust is basically like the drug game's done. I got a new type of power. And I think the interesting thing about that, I think what he's implying, and I feel like this did pop up in another one of the books. Um, I think what he's talking about is marketing, like uh powers, like, you know what I mean, because there is a question that comes up at a certain point in this about like people who came up with powers that weren't at the Big Bang,
Yes.
and I think am I forgetting something? I feel like this ties into something in another one of the stories we've been reading recently where maybe or maybe it's a season 2 thing that I read ahead of you guys on, but I took that to mean I took that and like what Holocaust said um to mean maybe he's got some kind of connection with being able
Well,
to give people powers.
I mean,
That would make a lot of sense.
Alva and uh,
Curtis?
Curtis know what happened. And it's
Hmm.
far from outside of the realm of possibility that Alva would already be um, seeking to profit. I mean, just like I immediately thought, oh, yeah,
He's going
if
to
he
be
took
working to
this thing and
replicate
sold it to
the.
the army, of
Yeah.
course he'd
Yeah.
sell it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's next level weapon stealing.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what the whole
Yeah.
Marvel universe is built on, is the idea of like, whoa, what if we sold this, or what if we made soldiers out of this? Yeah.
Right, right.
That's very much
Yeah,
the
the
modern,
line, oh sorry.
just the
I
very
was
much
gonna
the
say
modern. Yeah.
the modern, yeah, idea. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No.
No, I was gonna say real quick. The line that he says is he says that basically the drug game is done. He doesn't want it. He doesn't need it. And the Paris Island is gonna have its own product soon, which is gonna be all new and all different. Um, I took that because he's got a lot of like people around him who have powers, and they definitely
But
weren't
but
all
it,
at the
it,
march.
it could
like,
also
like
be
they were decidedly probably people who weren't at the march at all. Like,
Yeah. It could also just mean that
were you
like
saying, Ted?
he's just interested in power in general, but I mean, or like, political social power, being able to take over, but yeah, there's,
or
Maybe.
selling out as mercenary work, or I mean, there are a million ways that you
yeah,
could take their level of power and monetize it.
yeah,
So
Yeah,
the
yeah.
question is
It could be wrong.
whether he's
It's a
coming
theory
up
I'm
with it,
working with.
yeah.
or
Either
Yeah.
way, I
or
want to
or,
see.
or whether he's a
Well, or
pawn
he could
of.
have. Yeah. But think about it, like Holocaust has his hands in everything. He's usually like whether it's the
Oh
old
no,
one or
he'd
the
be a
new one.
perfect person
He's
for Alva or some cutout to approach.
right. He's got absolutely no
Right.
loyalty to
So
people,
again,
community,
but
crew.
what
Yeah.
I can't see is him doing the chemistry to figure out how to like reverse engineer him.
No, no, I don't think he did. I think
So
it's literally more of
the
like
way
he
I
got the
look at it is
connection.
there's two options. There's he's totally his own man, in which case he's looking for a way to monetize the muscle, or he's already been sucked into the man and he's going to be an arms dealer.
Hey, you know what? I wouldn't mind if they did make it so he had the chemistry, because like if the Joker's ass can be, the Joker can be anything at any given time. He's like
wouldn't
a brilliant
mind
chemist.
if they made it that way, but I haven't seen anything yet that indicates that they did.
Either way,
But you know what though? Yeah. That's what I love. That's what I love about my people, is that we could surprise you at any time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he could. Who's to say? Who's to say?
Holly got his chemistry degree
but
somewhere.
Then he wouldn't. He wouldn't needed his drug man. He would have just made it. He would have had meth labs. I think all over
he likes the
Island.
power. He likes the power. Hey, this is my fan fiction I'm writing. Okay, this is like
go.
This is Holly.
Wait a minute.
Chemist
you want to write
I want to add a whole
fiction?
chemist.
Oof.
Oh, no, that sounds
the
terrible.
Character Holocaust. Yeah. Let's not take things out of context.
All right. You know what? Thank you for killing this fan fiction dream. I'm not, now that just from the title. Yeah, no, I do not.
I do. I mean, but, I like that this works as a really this is a really strong, fairly conventional, but not in a bad way, superhero story for like an origin of a superhero team. You know, they're coming together from diverse backgrounds. There's a big threat. They have to come together and kind of overcome their various differences and realize who the true enemy is. They fight him. Yeah. There's a huge, enormous battle, which is great, by the way. We haven't even talked really about the art of a lot of this, but like the fight scenes, especially in that last issue, were great. There's some really wild power usage stuff. It's cool. There was one thing that took me a second to figure out, like with the Holly's like secretary lady who has like hacking powers.
Yeah. Her powers has she could broadcast things. Yeah, and the virtual reality.
Yeah, that was the thing where then she like for a second she convinces Tech-9 that he's like on a cliff or something, and it's virtual reality broadcasting. Anyway, but I mean, like it's a great combination of like cool powers, interesting teammates. Like it's and Aquamaria is there right from the start, which is an interesting change as well. It's less of a thing where she gets discovered and you know slowly communicates. I mean, all these characters are tweaked from what they were in the original version in a way that, I mean, also we haven't talked about like Masquerade is in there as well. Initially only introduced as Carlos's boyfriend, but like then it slowly becomes clear, they also have power. I say they because it's not explicit anyway.
Wait, hold on. Am I wrong, or like that was Masquerade? You're right.
I think it was there's a thing where then separate... Go ahead. When they sorry, we're talking to but like so they show up first of all in the like the warehouse safe house, right? Safe space hideout, you know. And they're clearly romantically involved with Fade, and then it's a thing where they say something about like having powers of their own. Like they make it clear that they also have powers.
You're right.
And then it's a shapeshifting.
The only reason okay, I think you're right. The only reason I questioned it is because initially I was like, oh yeah, that's Masquerade. And then it seemed like the first point when you saw Masquerade fighting, who was Masquerade fight? Because you saw him as like a dinosaur or something, right?
Yeah, it's like he busts in fighting Brickhouse. I think.
Right, but that was where I thought it was a different character. Like that was the same guy, same person?
I assume it's the same person just because they're both shapeshifters. Like, I assumed that it was, this person's a shapeshifter. They're probably Masquerade. Because not everybody has an equivalent for the original series, but enough people do that I was like, that's probably who that is. That's
what I thought initially, but hold on. I'm so curious now, because I think.
Yeah, me too.
I
made a lot of assumptions. I don't know if I got it right either. Like,
you might be right. You keep talking. I don't this isn't a good radio. You need to be supposing and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I do also like that they did the thing where they brought in Icon and Rocket as sort of a an extra element. Although I do wish, I don't know. I mean, one of the other things you have to do with the Blood Syndicate is one of the things you have to do with any sort of new superhero team, like or group where you bring in the established guys, is you got to give a good reason why the established guys didn't win. And in this one, it's more like they just snuck up on Icon and Rocket. I kind of wish there had been like, well, I don't know. I guess there's an element of like, they're not from Paris Island, so they don't get it. Although then,
wait,
but Rocket said her mom lives in. Well, whatever.
Yeah, No,
Yeah,
you mean, are
rockets
you
from
talking about
Paris
like their
Island.
motivation for trying to stop them? Or are you talking
Not their
about,
motivation, but actually like why they fail. Like you kind of want to. It's you know
well,
you want to make the good guys look better than the guest stars. You know,
but
you want to give.
wait, the reason, yeah, but actually the reason why, and again, this goes back to the chemistry, is because Holly, is like, okay, like I've been like, he's been studying them, right? Like, so he knows that they're overpowered, and he
Oh, that's right.
verbally
Yes,
acknowledges
yeah, he
he
knows how her force
acknowledges
field
that
works.
icon, yeah, he acknowledges that icon would totally wreck him if they went head up, you know what I mean? So like that's where he's like, all right, but you still have to, he has that
The poison.
one member of his team, yeah, that can like poison
You gotta
icon from
breathe.
the
Yeah.
inside.
Well, and then
Yeah,
and there was Rocket's force field still has to let air through. Yeah, you're right. I totally
yeah.
forgot about that. No, you're right. Yeah, so he did
Yeah,
have a
so they
thing.
actually, to me, they made it plausible. They did make it plausible, like,
Yeah.
and he and see, that's what I'm saying. He's got
I
some
was
scientific
never
knowledge and
saying that he
understanding.
wasn't smart, Marcus.
No, no, no. Come on, man.
I was
I play.
saying that it seemed unlikely that his
No, I
particular
know, I
intelligence had
know.
been spent learning chemistry.
Yeah, I got
I'm
you.
not saying that he couldn't learn chemistry. I'm saying that it seems unlikely that he
Wait,
already has.
is this wait, Tad? Is this a bit? Because I'm good, man. I really
Okay.
genuinely am not insulted by it. I'm doing a bit myself. It's all good.
Ugh.
Nah, but he does. In all seriousness, he does. I think he does display like leadership
Oh,
and
absolutely.
definitely aptitude and intelligence, which he applies to
Particularly
plan.
of the lead through fear variety.
Oh yeah, 100%. But like, definitely, he knows who to put in the right spots, and he's like, okay,
Right.
I can't beat Icon, but this person on my team can. And it was so
Tacticians.
interesting because
He's definitely a
Icon was basically
tactician.
like, oh yeah, 100%. And Icon was like, my body can can adapt to the poison, and he's just like, yeah, but she can keep, you know,
Right.
changing to a different poison, like, wear you down. And they eventually had
Well,
to
and
leave,
I think Icon's got a little bit of that Superman problem. The reason Batman always kicks Superman's ass when they actually have to fight is Superman never has to think about what he's going to do. Icon's never
Hmm.
had to. Icon is not a tactician.
I don't know about that.
Uh,
It depends on which
apparently
tactician you're
so.
thinking of.
Well,
Like which version of Icon.
I think what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what you're saying is, by sheer measure of his power and dominance, it's unnecessary for him.
Right.
It's a muscle he hasn't had to use very often.
Right. He hasn't had to like get super crafty because in general he doesn't have to get even non-super crafty.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do wish that they had found some way for Static to show up, but that would have been really overstuffed. And also,
Yeah, it would have been overfast.
and there wouldn't have been like there wouldn't have been a really easy way for him to show up in this, I guess. I don't know. There was
the only way would have been because him and Raquel, they have
oh yeah, they got their
an
thing going on.
acquaintanceship. Yeah.
There's
So
we're coming up on it, but there's one of my favorite bits in one of the later issues of I can't remember if it's Blood Syndicate or Static, but there's like the first crossover between Blood Syndicate and Static is extremely like low key and kind of hilarious. I don't want to spoil it, but it's like it's not a fight or anything. It's just the way they cross paths is great in the original Milestone universe. That's a whole
the original one.
So,
Yes.
I gotta ask, did either of you happen to read the young adult Static Up All Night?
No, I've been waiting on. Is that out?
Yeah.
That
oh, is
yeah,
that
I've been waiting. Yeah.
is that season
pretty new, right?
That's part of the like DC's whatever they're calling their young adult line.
Yeah.
So it's not canon. You know how they've actually been killing it
Oh.
with young adult graphic novels?
Yeah.
Oh hell yes.
Most of the Wednesday Warriors fanboys don't even know they exist, even though they're best selling DC comics.
Hey, I work
Yeah,
at a
yeah.
middle school, man. I can't
I
keep
know
those
you
things
know
on the
they
shelf.
exist.
Yeah, like
Yeah, no, that's right up your alley. Yeah.
The Teen Titan ones, the Beast Boy.
Oh yeah,
the
like
Tommy
Raven and
Garcia.
Beast Boy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
those, man. I can't keep those on the shelves. Those are
those are
fantastic.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's in that line.
I definitely want to read it. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, I didn't even know about it. I didn't know there was a.
It's
Yeah.
Lamar Giles and Paris Aline, and essentially
familiar.
what it is Virgil gets broken
think
up
it's Aline.
with by Daisy, and he goes off to this music fest with his buddy Richie, known as Gear. And they bump into Raquel, and he knows that she's, so it's just a night mostly out of costume, starting at a music festival, but hijinks ensue.
All right, don't tell me too much because I really
I'm not going to tell you too much, but you know, it does very well what that line does in general, which is make, you know, really good YA books that happen to be superhero genre, only with Milestone characters and with that. Well, a lot of them have representation twists, so I'm not even going to say a representation twist, because that's half of what the line is about. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I personally
want to drop on your daughter's lap.
I personally was a big fan of the Starfire book. I am not Starfire, but
yeah,
I want to read that as well. Yeah,
there's.
I haven't read all of them, but I read most of, because they all pop up on Hoopla too.
Oh yeah,
and I've yet to read one that I didn't enjoy.
Yeah, there's a lot of really fun. There's a lot of. That's the thing is, like, those non-canon books are the ones that, like, it's also for the kids who want to read about, you know, Batman or Green Lantern or whoever, but don't necessarily have, like, they don't know what's been going on in the mainline Batman titles, and it's impossible to sum up, like, okay, well, going back to Scott Snyder's run, like, you know, it's a little, but yeah, having that, I know it sounds like we're kind of doing a sale pitch for these guys here. I promise we're not getting, well, I'm not getting a commission.
I'm not going to come, but my entire podcast is a sales pitch.
I'm getting so paid off of every second of this. So
if you do want to pay me, DC,
as long as we say that we're getting paid, totally cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, these really, though, they are the best things that I love to recommend. And, like, Marvel, incidentally, has been doing something similar. They did a bunch of Miles Morales books and the Marvelverse books, which are really interesting, which is those like collections of 5 random issues from the character's history from the mainline stuff.
Well, but they also finally cut that deal with Scholastic. I haven't actually read any of those yet, but I know there's Miles and Kamala Khan.
Yes, yeah, there's a Kamala Khan
through Scholastic, and I've heard good things.
I think I can say this now, but I almost was supposed to do one of those, but then at the last minute, basically the Scholastic editor like reached out after Black Panther Party and was like, we really would like you on this project, and I just was like, yeah, okay. And the only thing with me is I was like, as long as we can, you know, get on it sooner than later, because I'm gonna have a big book that I'm gonna be working on in 22 and 23.
Right.
And she was like, yes. And she would email me back like every couple months, like, I'm so sorry. Like, I just want you to know we didn't forget about you. I want you to know we didn't forget about you.
That just means there's one.
And then later, she was just like, look, I'm so sorry. Marvel that we were fighting for you, but Marvel just was like, they want one of their in-house people. So I didn't end up doing it. I'm not gonna say which one it was, but it's one of the ones that has been announced and I think might be out right now.
But there's still time. They will do more.
You can always become an in-house person. That was my plan.
I kind of like what I.
No, I know.
Yeah, I like what I'm doing. I wouldn't fight Marvel if they threw something at me, but like I
also I think they're going to discover, like DC, that they may or may not actually really want in-house people.
There's yeah, I mean, I'm at the
Marvel has been poaching some indie people too.
Well, I just mean that part of what makes all of the DC books work is they have more of a YA feel than a Marvel feel.
Yeah, I mean, there's people like Kami Garcia, or, you know, over at Marvel, it's like Jason Reynolds or Who's the author of
but with their
miserable one?
artists too. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
God, who was it who did Starfire? Was that? It's someone I really like, and I totally blanked on the name.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
it's
know
not
what
Sophie Campbell, was it?
Rob. Maybe.
It reminded me a lot of Sophie Campbell. I don't think it was, though, now that I'm saying it out loud.
Robin Smith did the Nubia one, and her style is
Ooh,
totally
yeah.
different than anybody.
That,
You know what I mean?
yes.
And I know
Yeah.
her from just from webcomics, you know, and doing like a lot of cool webcomic stuff.
God, that's right.
But
It was Mariko
wait,
Tamaki. Yoshi Yoshitani.
Is
That's
Robin,
right.
Yoshitani?
Yes, that's who did the Starfire book.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's I don't know why I thought it was Sophie Campbell. I guess maybe just the proportions of the characters or something. Anyway, but yeah, like it's all
Yoshi,
really interesting.
Sophie.
Yeah, that you know, there's got the rhyming scheme going on. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing that like kids really want and that I really like as well. Or like, ooh, the Green Lantern sequel just came out. The Green Lantern Legacy, and then I forget the title of the new one. But yeah, God, that stuff. I just went to my local comic store on Black Friday and bought like $200 worth of stuff. Including some board games and some other crap and like some stuff for myself. And I found
I didn't even think about comics on Black Friday.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing is like I normally don't want to shop anywhere because no way am I going to get, fist fight someone at a Target or whatever. But like it's a local comic store. I love them. They're great. It's the Source Comics in Roseville, Minnesota. Yeah. Oh, it's great. And like of course I want to support them. So I went there and I bought a whole bunch of stuff from them. It was way more than I should have bought. Well, I also found 4 copies of one of my own books at the clearance shelf, and I'm like, I did run out of copies, so I might as well. That's a whole other topic.
Did they know that you were buying your own book?
I didn't tell them. I didn't tell the person at the checkout. I was like, she didn't need to know.
Oh man, that was a perfect opportunity to like sell the legend. You can be like, the guy who did this is he's a
real mysterious stranger.
He's the next big thing, and you guys just have this in clearance. I mean, like,
I mean, you could have done the Neil Gaiman airport thing.
Oh, and just signed a bunch of copies. I should have signed. I bought all but one copy. I should have signed the last copy.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, those kind of books were the ones I was looking for. Was like, oh yeah, do they have any other, or like Heartstopper? But that's a whole other category of other good stuff that the kids are into. It's what the kids like. Yeah.
Well, but I mean, and particularly in this week that started off with the bonehead down in Florida spouting off like he does every couple of years, trying to make it.
Are you bringing it back to DeSantis again? Is this
no? I'm referring to
okay.
a guy that owns a bunch of comic shops in Florida.
Oh, okay. I didn't know about
every couple of years. Spout off about he got to write a guest column at I think ICV2.
Oh my God.
And he tried to couch it in like business terms, but then he gave away the pooch when he got to stuff like and stop gender bending the characters, blah blah blah. It's not what you're.
Yeah. No, I'm so
and
it
might not be what his readers want.
Right.
I can't speak to who owns his shops, but Marvel and DC. I mean, first of all, Marvel and DC are still making comics that his readers want. Just because, I mean, even when there was a female Thor, there was an unworthy Thor. There was a regular Thor book.
Also,
get rid of the other one.
Yes, I have to just every time this comes up, I cannot stress this enough. Okay, these guys that are like, don't gender bend my characters, are so selective in their outrage. Do you want to know why?
Yeah,
because they get mad when Jane becomes Thor, yet they ignore all of the other male Thors that they ignore male Frog Thor. You know what I'm saying? Like they get mad. They get mad if the gender is swapped or the race is swapped, but they ignore all the white versions because when it comes down to it,
species
Marvel and
DC,
DC,
if it's an alien, that's cool as long as it's the male alien.
Right. Because when it comes down to it, Marvel and DC, no. Batman, Spider-Man, they know the versions that their characters that are their big money characters, and they're like, it is a better investment on our dollar from their perspective to remix these characters, than it is to take a chance on something totally new. And so these
Well, and it's
guys
not
just
like they
happen
don't
to
take
be these
chances
guys
on.
just happen to be okay with all the male versions, but the
I-
second
I
or
mean,
the white versions,
they create new characters all the time, but how many of them actually take off?
eh.
Right.
All right, but
I mean,
okay. But are the new characters' names? Are they the title characters? You get what I'm
I
saying?
mean,
Like,
it didn't take
how
long for
often? It's
America to
pretty
get
rare.
her own title character book.
What's the
Yes,
new the
but
Ghost
it happens.
what's the new DC character who's been doing like kind of a weird spirit world thing? It's just called Spirit World, isn't it?
I don't know.
I'm so behind on
Oh, I don't
current
know. Is that good?
releases. I've heard it's
All
fantastic.
right.
Yeah, they're like
Oh.
3. Ramv's got one. Greg
I don't.
Pak's
I just.
got,
Oh, I do want to
Greg
read
Pak
that.
has City Boy and
Oh, City Boy.
Yeah.
That's right. I was looking up that one because I was a big.
Okay.
I liked
there
Authority
are
back.
3
in the day.
different books that are like overseas superheroes. So the brand new character, but of course sales are
Sure, and it does happen. It does happen. But my point. And then also it's like the chicken and the egg, because readers feel empowered to be like, yes, I want my same meal fed to me.
Yeah, but Marcus, I'm agreeing with you, because that same store owner that gets angry because we've got a black girl Iron Man and a regular Iron Man and Dr. Doom is Iron Man. We're not upset about Dr. Doom is Iron Man. That's kind of cool. But
that's
the black
my point.
girl Iron Man, oh my God, nobody ever wanted that.
Exactly. It's selective outrage.
You may I bet you that they don't have Ramv's Vigil on their shelves. They're just not stocking it. They don't have City Boy on their shelves. They're just not stocking it.
You know what? Yeah. Well, I think
because they've convinced themselves, and possibly even created a situation where it's true that they, as a store, don't have an audience for that book.
They have self-selected to the point where the people who are already coming are the people who aren't necessarily interested. Yeah, I mean, this has always been the conundrum for comic stores and like the comics industry in general, is do you work to keep the audience you already have, or do you try to reach out to an audience you don't?
No, it has to. For comics to survive, you have to grow the audience.
Completely.
The publishers absolutely positively have to reach out to the audience that doesn't exist yet. The stores can make their own decisions.
Yes.
But they have to understand that the publishers don't work for them, no matter how much they think they've given their blood, sweat, and tears to keep the industry alive.
And I've probably given up more blood, sweat, and tears than they have.
Well, no, but all think about it, like the shop. Yeah, well, yes, but the shop owner that you're describing, right? It's like I don't want to hear his tears about how hard it is to survive, because first of all, if you think about it,
I loved how little time it took other shop owners to speak up and go, "You're out of your fucking mind."
Won't somebody please think of the beleaguered white shop owner?
Right.
Yeah.
No, but think about it like this. It's like, their numbers, and I don't have the current numbers for this year, but I definitely remember, like, over the last 10 years or so, reading about how like digital comic sales, a lot of them like really trended to like female readers, because a lot of them didn't feel super comfortable going to these shops with these sweaty dudes, like being like, well, tell me how many batarangs Batman threw in issue 161. You know what I mean?
The gatekeeping aspect. Yeah, no, it's huge.
Yeah. So it's like, it's just bewildering.
It's the same reason that like Scholastic Comics had that huge.
Say that in the last 2 weeks, his were not the least tone deaf comments made by a privileged white man outside of the political sphere.
Oh, come on, man! That's a privileged white man. There's too many to.
I was going to say,
I know,
I believe that.
But this is too good. I just have to share it because I learned about them
you
roughly the same time. Hold on a second. So
you're trolling me.
ESPN interviewed the owner of the it's not Baltimore anyway, the Indianapolis Colts. And in it, they talked about his DWI conviction, where he pled guilty in I think 2014 or 2015. And he made the argument that he had only pled guilty for expedience sake, that the only reason he failed the field sobriety test was he just had hip surgery, and of course he couldn't walk a straight line. Though he also went on to talk about the drugs he was on for that. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we've got that whole white man, like, and it certainly didn't have anything to do with all the drugs
Milestone.
And cash in the car.
I was about to say, man, I work in comics. You think I pay any attention to sports?
Right.
That's a simplification.
But here is the great line. He said it was because our society is super prejudiced against billionaire white men.
Oh, my God.
If he had been a billionaire white man, he would have been let go. But the cops are prejudiced against billionaire white men.
None of this surprises me. None of this surprises me. There's been so many versions of this.
It does not surprise me either, but...
Yeah.
But no, it's wild. It surprises me that he was willing to say it out loud to a reporter.
No, I believe it.
Yeah,
I mean, man.
If you're that divorced from reality already, like you kind of don't think of consequences. Consequences are what happened to other people at that point, you know? Like, I'm not surprised.
Exactly. Yeah. Nah, I do want to get back to Milestone. I also just want to say real quick though, Scott Lang. Okay, like how many people for most longtime comic readers they think of Ant-Man. They think of Ant-Man. They think of Hank Pym, right? How many of these guys were like, "Whoa, where's Hank Pym? Why you know what I mean?"
How
like,
about all the different Flashes?
Yeah,
or all of the different Green Lanterns until John Stewart.
I can't even remember how many Ant-Men there are, because wasn't there a second Ant-Man between them? Wasn't there one who was like he worked for Hydra or something? I don't remember that.
Probably, yeah. But
anyway.
All right, but
we get your point. That's one of the things that again.
But like Marcus, how would you feel if they recast Static as a white boy?
God. That's the thing about these characters.
I know you're joking. But
the listeners can't see Marcus's eyes shooting daggers through the computer.
Just for the 3 listeners who may be like, "Yeah, you're right, man." Tad was being
very facetious,
but sadly, there are no less than a billion guys who have said that argument like without any sense of irony. And
do you have an argument for them, or did you just hit them over the head with something?
I mean, the argument is simple. It's not even an argument.
You just hit them over the head with something.
Nah, the truth is simple, which is quite frankly that there is an overabundance of white characters, and that usually for a lot of the white characters where there's different versions, they're generic enough because whiteness is viewed as the default that you literally can swap in a race. But then, with characters like Static, T'Challa, and all the other names that they love to throw in there when they make this ridiculous point, there is an element of cultural specificity.
I forgot the White Panther argument.
No, but it all falls apart because there's cultural specificity to these characters, and also they're full of shit.
And this is also something that I've brought up occasionally to my students, is the idea that, white as a category only exists because they had to contrast. There had to be something on top of black, and black only exists because when they were shipping slaves over to the Americas, they didn't care which group they came from, which ethnic group, which area, which tribe.
Well, to a certain extent, it wasn't even when they started shipping. It's when they needed an excuse for birthright slavery.
Yes. I mean, yes, you're right. Yeah, and so there was this element of like, well, everything can just be
was the first nation to come up with that brilliant idea.
Oof, boy, God, yeah. No, and so whiteness encompasses things that are already culturally specific, like say Swedish or Irish or French or whatever, really more
all
narrowly
groups of
defined.
People who did not like each other.
Yeah, but
you know what I'm saying?
But once you were comfortably ensconced within that category of white, then like you're just automatically on top. But it's like if you came up with a character who really was tied to their ethnic identity more specifically than their whiteness, like whether it was someone who was specifically Daredevil actually might not be a bad example. Daredevil is specifically Irish Catholic. Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's really specific. And
That'd
even
be
then,
hard.
there are black Irish
Like no,
Catholics.
Daredevil's Catholicism is central to his story.
Yeah,
That's
and
It
a
would
good
be
example.
easier to
Actually,
make
yeah,
him Hispanic than it would be
yeah,
to make him
yeah.
black.
yeah, and
You could actually swap that. Yeah, I could
yeah,
see a Hispanic Catholic, a
yeah.
Mexican Catholic Daredevil.
I guess I'm trying to think of other good examples, but like, yeah, there are characters for
Portuguese.
whom it exists. Yeah, for whom they are something more. I guess Batroc the Leaper, maybe, because he is so specifically phrased Batroc the Leaper. He's got to be French, but that's yeah. Anyway, my
You
we,
can tell because of how they write the.
yeah, he's
Like,
Batroc
how they
the
spell
Leaper.
Z.
Yeah.
Z Leaper.
Oh, one of my favorite characters. He had a great show in that Zeb Wells Black Cat. He had a great couple issues in that where he goes on a date with Black Cat. It's just like the most normal
That's
thing.
right.
God, that was fun. That was fun as hell.
I thought that
Anyway.
wasn't that Jed McKay?
Jeb McKay. Jeb. I
Yeah.
always mix those two up, and it's like Jed or Zeb. Anyway, Milestone Comics. We like them.
Comics, we like them.
This was
Yeah, we brought it back, Tad.
yeah. This this Blood
Some
Syndicate
white man
was,
racist in the news hour is done. I'm not calling you
Oh,
that.
but
I'm
there are
talking,
so
talking
many.
I'm talking about the guys
Oh,
that you keep trying to
there's
highlight.
so many.
Keep platforming these guys.
The thing that I felt about this Blood Syndicate is that it is a more conventional setup, I think, than the original Blood Syndicate.
Mhm.
And the original Blood Syndicate was very deliberately setting out to be something completely different. It was setting out to be, we're not like a super group team. We are literally a gang. And this is early 90s. This is when gangs were like the thing in media. We are a gang and we're the good guys because we're sort of pushing back against the really bad gangs and we're trying to actually form a community for our people. And it's, they're a very different type of superhero team than you would see from anything else on the shelves. And that was a very deliberate choice. These guys are more, I don't know if they're more conventional. The story is more conventional. And again, I don't mean that as like an insult or as a denigration. I think it is more conventionally structured as, the character comes back to town, discovers there's a bad guy, he gets together with all his friends, he gets his ass handed to him by the bad guy at least once, they recover, they join up, and then there's a big fight, and it's great. It's fantastic. I think it reads it reads really well. I think I like the conventional structure of this really well because it does give us a better idea of some of the main characters. I mean, we already talked about Holly having a more developed personality and a more developed character and how that makes him a better villain. And I think that's a major part of it is him being a
we actually didn't even get into Wise Son and Tech Nine too.
Yeah,
go ahead,
Wise Son, I also liked Wise Son because Wise Son, I don't know. I mean, looking back on it, the original Wise Son character was he was almost more of a caricature of like the angry black man. Like I feel like he was a very, I don't know. I kind of want to go back and
I have more complicated thoughts on that. I think
I should say I haven't reread the
old
Blood Syndicate issues in a while, so I feel like he was more
like
a little more one note, but that's me remembering.
I think he's more complicated. So all right, if you, and I don't want to totally take away from your discussion, but just real quick, I do feel like I have to interject because I think he's a little more complicated than that. I can easily see that being a takeaway because of just what comes out of his mouth a lot of times. But I think when they get into his story in the old run, and
that's right,
learn a little
with
bit
his siblings,
about his family, and his son, and like there's more going on. It's almost like I think he is a person who is at war with himself. I think he, yes, and
he acts like an angry black man, but he's got a more
he's like a flip on the, and to be quite honest, like even his, and that they write that into the story, he's contradictory to his own Muslim beliefs,
yes,
oftentimes. And so I almost think he is a different not as bad version of what Holocaust, he is like maybe Holocaust anger and defensiveness maybe put to a better purpose, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Because he's more on the cusp of being angry. I mean,
and that's not even a good comparison, me saying that, like comparing them to Holocaust, because I think they're very different. But I think that like if you look at the entire old Milestone run, he was more complex than being an angry black man.
You're right.
And also we have reasons to be angry. So I'm here to defend
very
black
fair
anger.
very true. Well, and that's I mean,
Hashtag support Black anger.
yeah, I mean, you're right that I'm not giving him enough credit. I had forgotten the elements of like his siblings and his son and all that. And I did like what they did with him in this one, where his being Muslim is specifically a choice that is like, you can tell there's something to it that they didn't have time to get into it, but like there's a reason behind it that is gonna come up at some point. And yeah, I don't know. I liked that. I like the element where you see him talking to the mother of his child and having that anger and having to control it, and like, yeah, his homophobia, but he's getting confronted on that too. I liked him being he was someone in this version, in this storyline, he's more out of his element than he seemed to be in the original Milestone. Like, I feel like in the original Milestone, he played that. I guess it was more of an act, really, than anything. But he did seem to be someone who is consciously being a visibly angry political revolutionary, but having his own reason.
Yeah, I don't even think he claimed to be a revolutionary at all. Like,
that's fair, true. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. I like him more. I like him more, but at the same time, I haven't finished his arcs and I've forgotten some crucial elements of what I have read. I gotta
and you know,
myself.
yeah. I'm very, very interested to see where they go after this arc, because I think we're gonna really get into some more interpersonal stuff with the team, because they're gonna have time to breathe. You know, like in a lot of ways, you know, there's an air of desperation throughout this entire arc of because, you know, that's one other thing I will touch on very briefly is that, like, Holocaust has always been like a powerful, like, super dangerous character, both because of what he's willing to do and also just because of his powers, you know. But like, he really comes across almost as like, yo, how do you beat this guy? You know what I mean? In this particular run, because he's pretty damn powerful and dangerous. Like,
and they're always like,
just like on the force level.
Yeah, all the hero characters in this are like constantly on the back foot, like from the first page. Like, there's never a point where they're sort of, they feel like they're, you know, they know what's going on, whether it's Tech Nine and Raleigh coming back from, or Hannibal coming back from fighting abroad and feeling out of place here, to then we have, you know, Holly coming in and, you know, killing everybody else in charge, and then, you know, Hannibal or Tech Nine gets arrested, and like nothing's ever stable for them. They're constantly catching up to where the story is taking them. Whereas at the start of Blood Syndicate, the original one, from the start, they have a more established order. You know, there's a more established, like, oh, these are how the characters interact, and this is the thing they're in charge of, and this is the hierarchy. You know, these are the rules of the Blood Syndicate. If you do a challenge, you have to do this, this, and this. Like, this is a story where they're from the start, they're very much having to play catch up to everybody else around them, and that's, I don't know, it makes for a different dynamic. And I did like this one a lot. I liked the original Blood Syndicate. I ended up liking this one, and it does feel a little bit of setting up for the real story. Like, you know, this is where the real Blood Syndicate begins. But I don't know, that's not a bad thing. That's, you know, I like that. I like it a lot.
I enjoyed it. And there's so many different ways to approach a story, you know, like, and I mean, I think jumping in the middle it worked, you know, in the original run, but I like this idea of just kind of giving us the background and also jumping back and forth, you know. I personally thought they balanced it pretty well, but
yeah, the backgrounds.
The only other question, sorry.
Well, just giving us the character backgrounds as well was another really cool element. I did like having more of that to chew on. That's, yeah. You were going to say, though.
Yeah. I was going to say, I looked back at issue 3, and I think, or was it 4? When Masquerade first shows up fighting Brick, and I don't think, because I think earlier in that issue you do see Carlos's boyfriend, and I think that's a different character.
But they're wearing red,
and then turns back.
The whole thing is about, like, they're wearing the colors of the Paris Bloods, and there's also a thing of, like, you know, then they're saying something like, oh, I'm going to have to show my own powers, and they've got their glowing eyes. And then the next time, well, if it's the same character, then they show up fighting Brickhouse, and Brickhouse was a Blue Streeter or some other gang that had beef with the Paris
okay. Bloods. Wait, did Carlos's boyfriend specifically refer to being Paris Blood?
They didn't say that, but they are wearing red, and there's a reference in the story to
Or
being
partner.
like, yeah, everyone wearing red was a Paris blood. So
See, it seems like a neutral color to me because it almost seems like I mean now I'm getting into
is it?
specifics, but it seems
I thought it looked red.
like it's more of either a reddish brown or mahogany
We're gonna have to do some
color.
color theory here. I might have misread it. I don't know. This was just my this was my read on
Never
it.
debate with the
I-
artist.
Well, I'm
True.
going back and forth,
mean,
and I do think these are different
I'm just
characters.
speaking as one married to an artist. They know more colors than we think exist.
That's true. You're right. It is just
Yeah.
sort of it's like a maroon coat. Well, and what's the name? It's Eddie. Is that right? Yeah, Eddie. What was the
Yeah.
name of
And
Masquerade
Eddie,
in the
that was
original?
not Masquerade. Later, I can look it up, but it wasn't Eddie. I don't think.
Yeah.
Um.
Well, whatever. We'll figure it out.
Okay, yeah,
I mean,
we'll come back. We'll come back to it. I'll do
yeah.
research before the next episode.
There we go. But yeah, I mean, overall, this was I really liked it. I like this being another part of the puzzle that is Milestone in the modern day. It's interesting that I kind of Rock are more of the through line in this, where I felt like, well, I don't know, I might be misreading. I kind of felt like Blood Syndicate was more of the through line in the original. Well, I don't know. I got to go back and read.
No, they bounced around. It bounced around. The original series did a lot of they did a lot of cool crossovers. So
yeah, but yeah. So for next time, I guess we're moving on to Duo, the last of the season 1 milestones is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to rereading it because I did really like it when I first read it. And I was it's very well. I can't wait to get into it because it takes it's like almost the only things that it takes from the original Zombie are the idea of David and what's her name again?
Kelly.
David and
Kelly.
Kelly. Yeah. Yes. Being involved in the origin of what would ends up happening, but it goes in such a different direction. And but yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about it.
That's one where I felt like it was more conventional than the original, but I don't think that was a benefit. I actually well, whatever. We'll get into it next time. Yeah. But yeah.
Well, no, the weirdness of the original was singular, and I enjoyed original Zombie. So but we'll talk about it. We'll get to it.
It'll be next.
Should be interesting.
Very much so. Oh
yeah.
I think that does it for now.
Any final thoughts?
That was what I was about to ask.
Yeah.
What do you think you are, the host now?
Okay.
I've
been just focusing on drawing, so I haven't been running a podcast much. So I'm coming for your podcast. No, I'm just
okay.
No. But my final thoughts are I did. I really enjoyed it. I don't know. I'm enjoying seeing something that I really enjoyed, and was such a part of my upbringing, and also my just wanting to get into comics. And now looking back at a point when I actually am growing up and doing some work in comics, and seeing this new imagination and seeing a younger generation than myself also get involved with some of the Milestone initiatives. So I don't know, I really enjoy it. There's certain things that I love about the old one. I think back when we were talking about the first compendium of the old series, and I was reading ahead on these books, I said to you guys that I don't know. I think I think they work together, and I don't even really have a oh, the new one's better or the old one's better. I think they're connected and they're different in a way that really works for me. You know what I mean? And it was really cool. Yeah, that's all.
I think the only time I have seen a character or set of characters taken to inspire stories in a different era that worked anywhere near as well as this is the early days of the Ultimate Universe. and more so on the Spider-Man side than the X-Men side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With
Yeah, that was a
the
mixed
added
bag.
bonus for these that they didn't even feel as tied to the stories. You know, Bendis told the classic stories, but modernized them and modernized the language and just applied better writing, period. This is like good jazz or a good movie adaptation where they understand that they don't have to be the same as long as the characters feel real and the characters feel the same. And if the characters don't feel the same, then use a different character. I mean, I don't feel like any of the characters in any of the new Milestone don't feel like I expect them to feel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even in discussing Holocaust, my argument is that they managed to do an even better version of what I felt Holocaust was. Not, we changed, the essence of the character is still the same, but like his story didn't make as much sense, at least the parts of it I've read so far, in the original Milestone universe, whereas this story resonates very well. And that's just, I've been really impressed with that through all of the new Milestone that we've been doing, that you know that they know and love the original material. They got to know the essences of the character, and then they went, how would this story be told today? And
well said.
I think they've nailed it.
Yeah.
They've nailed it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I hope that they get to do at least as much as got done in the original Milestone universe, and be even better if they got to do more. They're not getting to do it at the same speed, but that's not always a bad thing, because as Marcus can attest, it's hard to meet comic deadlines sometimes.
Oh, hell yes. I actually like the model of seasons. It kind of makes sense because I mean, like Saga for Image has been doing that, because to create that work they're creating, it's
building in downtime, building in catch up time if you happen to fall behind, etc. is, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I don't get at all why nothing drives me up the wall more than like Marvel or DC falling behind on a miniseries, because I'm sitting there going, with your resources, why wasn't it done first?
Ahead, yeah.
Why wasn't it done before you solicited it? What's the worst that can happen? I mean, when you're Marvel or DC, if you paid for a comic that doesn't get finished, are you really losing that much money? And or write it into the contract that they got to give the money back.
Speaking of deadlines, I do have to get off and work on mine at a certain point. But this has been a fantastic conversation, gentlemen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We'll be back next time to talk about
Duo in a month. Thank you again, Brothers Anderson, and we'll see you all after the next page.
Right.
Hey guys, this is Tyler from 22 Panels. I'm here to tell you all about our Patreon. If you enjoy this show, please consider donating to our Patreon to keep this show going. We have many different tiers, all different levels, to help you decide what's right for you. Okay, so get on out there to patreon.com/22panelspodcast.